I'll be reading some stories into books. I kind of have not celebrated any of the books. They've just been over here, actually. Oh no, not there. Down there, we've got an art book that I made a while back. Of course, we also have Mr. Yeti, this giant book that I wrote a very long time ago. And of course, we have art, painting, yes. But we have this book. Dun, 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 dun. So this book is a compilation of a bunch of stories. Nice little document of all the stories in there. These are very sunlight moved. Testing 1 2 3. Does this sound well? I will look and I will. Does it sound well? Up close, far away. Up close, far away. So let's start here. Just let the hot dog smile. That is the title of this story. We got a little picture that I illustrated. Okay, just let the hot dog smile. I titled it that. This is a kind of real life story that happened, but I made it into a story because I actually wrote it down. People are our questionnaires in shaping what we do and who we are, but by the skill of inference, one can only assume when time comes a challenge to whom other than the air surrounding a thing actually belongs. And yeah. You made me a hot dog? This was the first thing my mom said after seeing the Halloween costume I made her. No, it wasn't a real hot dog, sorry to disappoint, but a cloth costume most perfectly wearable. Anywho, it had taken me over a week to develop this creation, including a bun overcoat, the shirt painted with a hot dog, some funky glasses, a hot dog stand owner's hat, and 2 giant bottles of ketchup and mustard made of lemon juice containers. It was just the perfect surprise. Costume. Yay. It's right there. Magical pinky. Ooh, okay. And so, we are ready for the family Halloween costume party at my mom's work, along with myself disguised as a parrot. Pirate, I meant pirate, not parrot. Pirate! My sister also joined. Through the door we arrived. The boy, wasn't it amazing? Everyone greeted us. There were spooky games. In fact, my mom grabbed a real hot dog while in her hot dog costume. There was even a pumpkin decorating contest. There was also another contest, one where the staff members, including my mom, could have decorated a table and entered into the table decorating contest. As usual though, we arrived late and it seemed my mom wasn't able to decorate anything. Even so, we found a small, unoccupied table just by the entrance. If an employee had decorated a table, they were suspected to stand by it throughout the party to give out candy and greet other families in their costumes. Also, of course, to receive their table decorating contest votes. With no one at that particular table though, my mom, sister, and I concluded that this table was empty and claimed its spot to be our own. Bad idea. Although there were only minor decorations, cheap, store-bought battery-powered candles, plastic pumpkins, and some 2D ghosts carved out of wood, all on top of an orange tablecloth, the small table still stood out amongst the Queen of Hearts table, the tropical beach table, the spider-inspired table, along with whatever the others named their tables. The only strange thing to note, however, and I couldn't explain why at the time, was that all the decorations on the table still had their labels, looking in perfect condition. So if you see a table, that has its decorations in a certain way, maybe don't think that it's unoccupied. Yeah. Although I certainly wondered why the company would have bought these decorations for its yearly Halloween party, yet leaving all the tags on, my mom, sister, and I all still had loads of fun. And all at that family Halloween party seemed to be going quite well. That is, except when the real nightmare came. It was right after I had successfully accomplished a ring toss game that I slowly made my way back to our small table with its minor decoration. My sister was there, though not my mom. Pages. Hey, would you look at this? She stated, holding out a mini remote control switch with all of its various buttons. The device looked like something that would have been used to unlock a car. My sister had found it on our small table, although neither of us was sure what its purpose was. I wonder what it turns on, I stated, looking around. To our left was a large screen TV. Other than that TV, there appeared to be nothing electronic nearby to require remote control. I tried pointing the little remote control device toward the screen and pressed a few buttons. Nothing. Is there anything on that table that might require a remote? I asked my sister, who too was searching around in an attempt to answer our most recent daunting question. I want to use my hand here. Well, there are these battery-operated candles, she began. I only wonder. And with just a point of the remote, a press of the button, those cheap plastic battery-operated candles turned on. Then with another press of the button, off. So the remote was made for easy control of their lights. So much more convenient than having to pick up every separate candle and manually turn on and on switch. So cool. Oh my gosh. I think I probably meant off and on switch. Anywho, hey, I made this like 2 years ago. I don't know. Okay, we played around with these little candles for a moment long, figuring out how to change the light from red to green to purple to yellow. Then got slightly bored and began rearranging the various decorations on the table to make the space appear more hot dog themed. Okay, to make the space appear more hot dog themed, as was the costume of our mom, I literally placed an empty bag of Doritos at the center of the table, then balanced a squishy toy skeleton on top of its crinkly packaging. Following that, I placed the giant DIY ketchup and mustard bottles I had made for my mom's costume at the two front corners of the table as the final decor. So I kind of rearranged the decor on the table, who we didn't even know belonged to us or not. Now, this decoration had been such a fun experience, but my mind suddenly clicked when behind me I heard a young boy entering the Halloween party with his mother. I couldn't not offer him some candy, maybe even attempt to show him a cool trick while I was at it. The kid was a Ninja Turtle after all. What are they called? What are those Ninja Turtles called? Are they just called Ninja Turtles? Ninja Turtle mutants? Mutant Ninja Turtles? I forgot their name. Okay. Hello, young sir, I said wholeheartedly. Would you like some candy? Maybe some chocolate? Or maybe some pretzels? One can find all in this jar. And I offered him the jar. Okay, why were there pretzels in that jar? Halloween was supposed to be sweet, not salty. Well, the jar had come with the table, so I guess I was just going to have to deal with it. I continued my acting. Would you like to see a cool magic trick from a pirate like me? And yes, I was dressed like a pirate. The boy happily agreed, then snatched a bag of pretzels. A bag of pretzels? My goodness, kids these days and their choice. Now, as I waved my hand over these candles, they will magically turn on, and the candles did. At just a moment, I pressed the button on the remote control hidden within the sleeve of my pirate costume. Like hidden in here, just like pressed it, but like without him knowing. For this first trick, the boy was clearly mesmerized. Now, as I wave my hands again, these candles will magically turn off. And they did, which made the boy look past magic and instead turn to logic. Children these days. You're hiding something in your hand, he stated, pointing accusingly at my arm. I innocently held my empty hands in the air free within my sleeve. I wasn't going to give my trick away, not yet. But apparently neither was this boy in his search for the remote control, which I, no matter how hard I tried, could not convince him didn't exist. And so eventually I revealed the secret. The secret. I don't know. That was a magician a while. When I was like 5 years old, I always watched him, and he always said, "I'm about to reveal the secret." So that's kind of what I got that from. So I eventually revealed the secret. The secret. The secret. The boy immediately began with his, "I told you so, I told you so," and boastfully walked off with his mother and that bag of pretzels. The trick had almost been perfect, but sometimes I suppose things that are almost perfect still have the capability to become even worse than almost perfect. Hey, do you mind turning those candles off when you're done? And maybe set down that remote while you're at it? The voice was gruelingly creepy, and just by catching a whiff of a new smell emitting off the person behind me, I knew my sister and I were dealing with an old lady. And she didn't seem too happy to see us. After snatching the remote control from my hands, the lady turned off all the candles, rearranged the decorations my sister and I had messed with, stood there as if she had to guard something. We had no idea what she was guarding. Seconds passed, and I inched closer to my sister, extremely creeped out by this newcomer. I think I said new cucumber. The lady was dressed as a black cat, complete with a suit, ears, tail, and whiskers. With a tail and ears and whiskers. So, it was horrifying. I figured she was the manager of this party. Just a work party. I mean, it was just like an office work party with kids and everyone. And seeing my sister and I tampering with the empty table, that which might have been set up for decoration purpose only, none for any to utilize its surface for their belongings, would have felt someone had to interfere. Wow, that was a very long sentence. I'm not going to repeat it. I just couldn't understand. I clearly said that we were sorry, and my sister and I stepped to the side, removing our belongings from the top of that table. So why didn't that cat lady just leave? Luckily, not long after, our mom in her hot dog suit soon returned, all with a bright smile after filling her bag with some free items from the shopping section. Everyone looked to this new hot dog lady. My sister and I extremely confused, and myself slightly terrified. I wasn't a troublemaker. I just wasn't, really. I wasn't. All I had wanted to do was make a little boy smile. That's all. Look at all these eyeliners from the shopping section. There are so many colors. Look, this yellow one matches the mustard on my costume. With those glasses, my mom sure looked funny. So I decided to stare at her while she spoke, and not the old lady disguised as a black cat. Yet before I even decided upon this action of distraction, my sister blurted out, "Who is that?" The question was so fast, so loud, that I would have believed someone on the moon would have clearly heard its syllables. But back to that lady, the cat lady. If anyone knew who she was, it ought to be my mom, since she worked at that place. My sister and I were just young family visitors. To my sister's question, however, my mom looked around puzzingly. I'm not gonna tell. Sculpting herself upon a face as if she didn't quite understand. Then my sister said again, this time announcing her words even louder and more direct. "Who is that?" Why? For some reason, even though my sister, to signify whom she was referring to in her statement, pointed directly at the old lady, who was very offended by this point in time. I guess the first time she didn't point, so I shouldn't have done that, but okay. My mom never laid a thought to look in the direction of the pointing. After a third time on my sister's intrusive question, the old lady finally blew her temper. Who is who? The old lady's voice was so raspy. After no response from any one of us, the old lady repeated her question. Who is who? She exclaimed, almost spitting fire. Who is that? My sister spoke once more. I remained quiet through all of this, just observing the chaos as it unfolded before my very eyes. Eventually, our mom glanced in the direction of the old lady. That smile my hot dog mom arrived with still plastered tight to her face. It appeared some key of information had finally dawned on her. Oh, it's a cat. Oh my goodness. I couldn't do anything. Questions repeated back and forth. My sister, who is that? And they, with the old cat ladies, who is who? Mixed as a jumble together. That is until I heard so faintly within the craze of questioning a new phrase. This is my table. Oh dear. Well, that explained everything. Except it didn't. My mom still didn't understand the facts of the situation. Instead, just kept that smile pinned on her face, looking happily from my sister to me. I guess I just had to spell it out for her. Mom, this is her table, I said with the uttermost slowest caution. My mom still had no idea what was going on. I don't even think she heard me. Great. So I continue. This table was decorated for a reason. The lady had set it up as her own Halloween party table. Upon that statement, it finally dawned on my mom the truth, and her smile easily faded away. Like that. She turned to face the extremely outraged woman, that whom my mom actually had never really known while working in the company, and began the silly process of questioning once again, asking with such plain a gesture, is this your table? As if discussing the matter more openly would help resolve everyone's confusion. While I don't think this type of cooperation did the trick, I'm just glad I had a parent in the vicinity. Otherwise, it would seem my sister and I were two teenagers crashing a family Halloween work party. We belonged there. Still, I felt really embarrassed and walked all the way over to the opposite side of the party room. I discovered a spot where you could guess how many candies are in the basket. Yeah! And thus the closest guess would win all the sugary treats inside it. What is that game? What generally goes into that game? Isn't there something general other than... So, I made a guess of 86. There could have been more, but I really didn't feel like getting too logical about all the layers of M&Ms and Snickers. Yeah, there were like little M&M packages in there. At another table, I perfected my artistic skills at some Halloween coloring pages, looked at a few of the other employee-decorated tables, and located a cool pile of stickers, and yet I just couldn't get the strange feeling that was eating up my insides out to go away. Had we all been so foolish, or was the fact that the table looked so empty a completely reasonable reason for us to go ahead and place our stuff on its top surface? After all, my mom was one of the bosses, a manager in her department of quality of makeup, and known by most in the company, although maybe not by that old lady dressed as a cat. The raspy-voiced lady actually seemed to know quite little about the company itself. Maybe she'd just been a +1. Then there was that other nagging feeling within me throughout the entire confusing matter. How had my mom been dead? How come it took her so long to understand that we had set our things on another person's table, and that was nothing to smile about? I just didn't understand. There was nothing wrong with my mom. She could hear and see perfectly well, and was a completely normal person, in fact above average in many aspects of her life. So why did you say a cat when asked what the lady was? Or maybe who the lady was? Technically it was true, but it was not the answer my sister and I had expected. I knew my mom always had a bouncy, perhaps wanted to stay in the Halloween spirit, or maybe she was just so happy to be a hot dog. I'll truly never know. Okay. But something that I've learned from this experience is to always question before acting, and perhaps not overreact when acting. Yeah. Great life lesson. Days later, my mom, sister, and I look back to this date in history, everyone totally confused as to what had actually happened, and why the conversation had been so elusively unsettling yet hilarious. And we laugh. We laugh because it's life, and sometimes it's better to forget the embarrassment. It's perfect moment in the end of this story. And we laugh because it's life, and sometimes it's better to just forget the embarrassment and instead just focus on the smile. So let that hot dog smile. My mom, the hot dog, let her smile. And then I end it with celebrate, because at every single story, instead of, you can see how tiny this font is, right? Yeah, it's really small. I'm ending it with celebrate. Ooh, right there, yeah, there. I end every single story with a little word. Represents a little bit in the story. One story complete. We have many more stories. Some of them are very long. That's probably one of the shortest ones here. Yeah. Story 1. There's 25 stories inside of this book. My beautiful story reading of today. Don't assume. Don't assume to put your things on someone else's table, because sometimes that table is occupied by another person just somewhere out in the party. Yeah. A hot dog costume, really. Really. Story is a life, so live the life. Bye. 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 Yeah. See you in the clouds. Kaomi out. Ooh. Thank you, microphone. Eee.